Hi there, welcome to my channel. My name is Clara Z and I do videos on luxury handbags and fashion items. So today I wanted to do a general comparison between the Chanel mini flap, it's the rectangular flap, and my Hermes Constance mini bag. Sometimes they call it the 18 bag. As you can see, both of them are in black and gold. I've had this one for approximately, I'm guessing around 8 years, and this one I've had for about the past 2 to 3 years. I've used them both quite extensively, and recently I've been able to use this a bit more, so I thought it would be a good opportunity to talk about these two bags. Both of them, I love them both. So I'm gonna go over some of the measurements, what kind of fits in both of these bags, and I'm gonna talk about the pros and the cons of each of these bags if you're considering one or the other, or if you're just curious about one or the other bag. So let's get started. So first, let's get into the measurements. So as you can see, this one is more square and this one will be more rectangular. If I just kind of put them back to back, you will notice that the rectangular will be slightly longer. So this one is approximately, according to my measurements, 20 centimeters, and this one is 18.5. With Hermes, sometimes it will vary a bit just because they're all handmade. In terms of the height, this one is 15 centimeters versus the mini rectangular, which is 12 centimeters. So although this one is a bit longer, this one is approximately 3 centimeters taller, and in terms of the width, they are both roughly 6 centimeters wide. So the width on both of these are quite wide, and bear in mind that this does stretch out with the use of time. So with it stretched out, I would say it's approximately 6 centimeters wide. So in terms of what fits, a lot of you may wonder if a phone will fit these bags, and both of these will fit a phone, no problem. This is a Apple 14 Pro phone, and that will slip in no problem, as you can see there, with room left to spare on the side. And with the Hermes Mini Constance, you can also slip that there in the front, no problem. There will be less room to the side of the bags because this one is not as long as the mini rectangular, but definitely you can fit phones into both of these. In terms of capacity, they're about the same. So let me show you what will fit inside the mini Constance. So typically this is what I would put in my mini Constance, and it opens like so. You just kind of pull at the bottom here and that pops open. You can see I'm using a medium-sized Hermes beer wallet. I also have a large bottle of Aesop hand sanitizer, a pack of tissues, and a nano bag in case I need it for grocery or it starts raining. I have a pen in here, a lip liner, and my Chantecaille lip gloss, and finally a pair of flat reading glasses. Now I've transferred all the items into the Chanel mini flap, and you can pretty much see it is pretty much at full capacity. So I would say that both of these have roughly the same capacity. So I think the only thing to note is that this one is wider and this one is taller. So depending on the type of items that you're using and your wallet size, some items may fit better in this bag because it's taller, although it's more narrow, and some items will fit better in this bag because it's slightly longer but not as tall. But I would say they roughly carry the same amount of items. One thing to note though is that the Constance will have a divider down the center, so that may constrain usage unless you prefer the organization. But overall, I would say the Constance is better for taller items, but for more kind of longer items, this may fit better. So let's talk about the pros and cons of each bag. Now, when it comes to the rectangular mini, I would say that the clasp is easier to open. It's more of a turn lock and you open it like that. The Constance is not difficult to open. However, initially you may need to get used to how to open and close the bag, which is like this. So it's pretty easy also, but I would say Chanel has a slightly easier to open turn lock. In terms of easy to access, I would say the Chanel Mini Rectangular has a slight advantage only because the bag is more elongated. So depending on what your items are, if they're more of a longer shape, it's just easier to see items like this. Whereas with the Hermes Constance, if your items are a bit shorter, you might have to put them on top of each other. And also because there is the divider in the center, that could be a pro or a con, but you might not be able to lay items as easy as the rectangular just because of that divider in the center. Another pro of this bag is that it has the back pocket at the back. Now for the Constance, only the 24 has the back pocket. The mini one does not have a back pocket. In terms of versatility, I think this one has a slight better versatility because you can turn it into a clutch by putting the chains inside the bag. Another reason why I find this bag a bit more formal looking is because of the chains. The golden chains kind of give it a jewelry-like feel, so it does look slightly a bit more elevated than the Constance bag just because of the golden chains. And finally, although this bag cannot double up like the Constance bag, you can adjust the chains by putting a ribbon on the inside or using a chain adjuster. So you do have a lot more flexibility in terms of how long or short you want to carry this bag. Which brings me to the con of this bag. And one of the cons versus the Constance is that you cannot double up the chains. However, there are ways of adjusting the strap. I have tucked the straps inside the bag like so to shorten the bag, to turn it into a shoulder carry, or you could use an adjustable clasp to shorten it. However, do note that you could damage the bag on the sides because your chains are sticking out. What some other girls have done is they've used a ribbon inside or a chain adjuster to adjust the length of the strap. And that's about the only con I could think of. If I had to be really picky, you could also say that this bag is slightly a bit more formal looking, which could also be a con to you if you want it to be more understated. Just because it has the intertwined gold and leather on the strap, it does tend to look slightly a bit more formal looking versus the Constance. However, I've also seen some girls wear this as a really nice day casual bag also. So let's talk about some of the benefits of the Constance bag over the Chanel mini flap. So one of the most obvious pros of this bag is that you can double up the strap to wear it as a shoulder bag without damaging the bag. Another pro is that you can stick a twilly through this and make it a top handle bag if you wanted to do so. And another pro of this bag is that I like that the straps are made out of leather. And one of the reasons why I like a leather strap is that it tends to be lighter. And if you're the type of person where the chain can kind of dig into your shoulders, if you put heavier items, that could become a con, but because this is a leather strap, obviously the bag will be lighter. Another pro of this bag is that I like the drop of the Constance more than the Chanel Mini Rectangular. I'm approximately 163 centimeters, between 5'3", 5'4", and I find that when I wear this on my shoulder or as a crossbody bag, I find that it falls on a better length on me, whereas for the Chanel Mini Rectangular bag, I have found that the strap tends to be a bit on the long side. Although I can adjust the strap for its length, it's just an extra thing I have to worry or deal with when I'm wearing this bag. Another pro, which could be a con also, is that if you like organization, it has a divider, as I mentioned before. Another pro of the Hermes Constance bag, and probably this is a pro for all Hermes bags, is that the leather tends to be a higher grade, and because it's hand stitched, the quality of the Hermes bags tends to be better than Chanel bags. In fact, the Hermes Constance bag is one of the most difficult bags to make. I've learned that generally a leather specialist has to graduate from the Birkin and Kelly before they can even attempt the Constance. And one of the reasons why it's so difficult is first because of the rounded corners, being able to get these in a perfect rounded corner. And also the flap is really hard to make because when you open the flap, you will realize that there is no creasing, and it has to be smooth under here, which is generally very difficult to do. In fact, my essay told me that there are only 3 factories in all of Hermes that will make the Constance bag, which explains why there is such a limited quantity of Constance bags. Now I know the Birkin and the Kelly tend to be more iconic, but in terms of difficulty to make, definitely the Constance is up there in terms of level of difficulty to put together by the craftsmanship. Finally, another pro of the Hermes Constance bag, which is also applicable to all Hermes bags, is that it has a lifetime limited warranty, which means if I get any scratches or damages to the bag, I can take it back to Hermes to take back to their spa for repair, and that will help to increase the longevity of the bag. As long as the bag is authentic, they will take it and they will repair it for you to the best of their ability. Whereas with Chanel, I believe they only have limited warranties on some of their bags, and they may be only up to 5 years. Now, in terms of the cons, first of all, there is no back pocket, as I mentioned before. Another con is that these straps kind of come up like this, so they're slightly hard to store. You can either store it hung up, or I guess you need to kind of move these jangly things around to one side so that it doesn't get in the way. Another con is that some people say they don't like the large H logo. To be honest, after owning this bag and using it for a while, you don't really notice it as an H. It just kind of becomes the shape of a clasp, and I don't really notice the H after a long while. To be honest, I do think the Chanel bag is now very widely known, and although the CC is very small, I'm pretty sure this bag is so iconic people can recognize it from a mile away. Another con is that I've seen older Constance bags whereby there's a crease right here. I'm not sure if it's because of the way the person used this bag. So when I open this bag, I will open it like this and I will rarely bend it. But for someone who is a bit more aggressive on their bags, they could be opening it and bending it at this place, causing a large crease. Now, I do have some very fine lines on there, but I wouldn't really call it a crease. However, over time, I can see it happening whereby these fine lines become wrinkles. So I need to be very careful when opening the bag that I don't bend it to cause this part to wrinkle. And the final con of the Hermes Constance bag is that generally it's a lot more expensive and more difficult to get than the Chanel Mini Classic Flap. I know that it's no longer that easy to be able to even get Chanel bags, but definitely Hermes. Depending on your country and your essay, you may have to do the Hermes journey, and then sometimes the stock is not always available in the color or leather that you want, and definitely the price of this bag will be definitely more than the Chanel Classic rectangular bag. So this is another con of Hermes bags in general. So if you ask me which is a better bag, I think they both kind of serve different purposes, although their functionality is very similar. Overall, if you only have budget for one or the other, I do feel the Chanel bag is better value for money. You don't have to jump as many hoops as you would need to for an Hermes bag. And generally, I think this one is a bit more versatile in terms of going from a day to evening option. And in general, if you find that even Chanel is definitely hard to get and you also kind of like the functionality of either of these, I think there are a lot of options on the market. For example, I've seen the Celine Mini Triomphe bag. It's at a reasonable price and definitely a lot easier to get, and it does give off a similar look and feel to the Hermes Constance bag or even the Chanel Mini Square. Now, I didn't compare it to the Chanel Mini Square because I don't own the Chanel Mini Square. However, I would say that the capacity is similar to the Mini Rectangular unless you prefer something with more of a square shape. Now, you don't have to get a Chanel or an Hermes bag. This is just for comparison's sake. And I think there are a lot of good options on the market just because of all the price increases and how insanely difficult it has become to get one or either of these bags. I think that it's most important to just get something that is functional for your lifestyle. And these bag designs are really common and available across many labels. So I hope you found this video useful. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them down below. And if you haven't done it already, please feel free to like and subscribe. You can also follow me on Instagram. I'll leave my account handle somewhere down here. And thank you so much for joining me again today. I hope you have a fabulous day and I will see you next time. Bye bye now.